On October 12th, we learned that North Carolina wide receiver Tylee Kraft had passed away from a battle with lung cancer at the age of just 23. News broke just in time for UNC to honor Kraft prior to their game against Georgia Tech on Saturday, where a teammate wearing his jersey number 13 managed to score a touchdown. In this video, we will look at the fascinating numerology of this death. Tylee Kraft, again, a University of North Carolina player who died at the age of 23. What you'll learn in this video is how this news story is synced numerically to North Carolina basketball player Michael Jordan, who famously wore number 23 during his time at the school and most of his time in the National Basketball Association. Tylee Kraft was born on the first day of October in 2001. This stands out because a week earlier, Michael Jordan had officially announced his return to the NBA after a couple years away from the game, announcing that he'd come back for the Washington Wizards. Now, Washington is one of two major U.S. cities attacked on the date of the September 11th attacks. And it turns out that on the morning of September 11th, 2001, before those attacks happened, the main story was Michael Jordan's return to the NBA. So we'll look at some connections there. Back in the year 2020, the country fell back in love with Michael Jordan after the release of The Last Dance, which chronicled the journeys of the Chicago Bulls throughout their 1998 championship season, which was Jordan's last year with the team. Just 4 days after this miniseries was released onto Netflix, the Green Bay Packers drafted a new quarterback named Jordan Love, again, just 4 days later. So right after the country falls back in love with Jordan, Jordan Love comes to the NFL. The other element of synchronicity we'll look at is 2311 Racing, which is Michael Jordan's NASCAR team that he owns along with Denny Hamlin. And the day after Tylee Kraft died, 2311 driver Tyler Reddick managed to win stage 1 of the race. Now, this name right here, Tyler Reddick, points back to the sport of basketball. Just last month, the Los Angeles Lakers hired a man named J.J. Reddick to be their new head coach. And this also points back to the story because just look at the name JJ. Well, the man who scored a touchdown while wearing Tylee Kraft's number 13 jersey was named J.J. Jones. So JJ, just like J.J. Reddick. Reddick, just like Tyler Reddick. So this is all one big circle that ties back to Michael Jordan. If you measure from Michael Jordan's birthday, which falls on the date February 17th, we find that Tylee died 238 days later. This brings us to the language of Gematria, the ancient number lettering system, which, when combined with the calendar, provides staggering alignments with what we see in the news and often our personal lives. So Michael Jordan summing to 238 in the reverse alphabetic order. Kraft dead 238 days after Jordan's birthday. But let's look again at the number 23. This is the number in the headline, as it's the age Kraft was when he passed away. And again, Michael Jordan wearing number 23 for North Carolina and the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan is affectionately known as MJ to basketball fans, and with M being the 13th letter and J the 10th, this gives us a sum of 23. In reverse, the state of North Carolina also equals 203. When Jordan returned to the NBA in 2001, he came back to play for the Washington Wizards, a team with ordinal gematria of 230. And then Jordan's career officially ended for good in the year 2003. Measuring from the end of the Netflix series The Last Dance to the death of Tylee Craft was a span of exactly 230 weeks. And it's important to understand that in numerology, the 0 is typically ignored, so all of these represent the number 23. In fact, his first name, Tylee, sums to 23 in reverse reduction. We're also going to look at how this syncs up to an all-elite wrestling event, which took place on the same day. Notice how all-elite wrestling sums to 203 in the alphabetic order. And back in that same year, 2020, an AEW wrestler died suddenly after a lung issue. And we'll see how that's connected here, because Tylee Craft died after battling lung cancer. Tylee attended Sumter High School in South Carolina. And it's interesting because the Battle of Fort Sumter started on a date with 23 numerology. But let's look at Michael Jordan's racing team. 2311 is how this team is pronounced. 23XI. XI in Roman numerals, 11. And these are the two major numbers. We looked a lot at 23, but this number 11 is incredibly important as well. On the date he passed away, Tylee Craft was 23 years and 11 days old, which essentially matches the name of Jordan's racing team. 2311 is a number significant to the craft of Freemasonry. Notice how Freemasonry equals 2311. And here we're talking about a man named Craft. Freemasonry, a place where builders used to hone their craft, and still do in some cases, but this 2311 is also a prime number, the 344th prime number. Freemasonry's full name sums to 344 with exceptions in reduction, and University of North Carolina sums to 344 reverse. Tylee Craft died 344 days before the anniversary of 2311 racing. Once again, 2311, a number divisible only by 1 and itself. And here we see on my website the 344th prime. So we covered a lot about the number 23, but what about the number 11? Well, consider how the Green Bay Packers, the team that Jordan Love now plays for, is essentially the ultimate Masonic team of the NFL. Of course, they use the capital G in their logo, reminding us of the symbol of Freemasonry, and the team's Gematria is very similar as well. On the date that The Last Dance came out, the big Jordan documentary in 2020, Tylee Craft was 6,775 days old. This 775 stands out immediately. Notice how the names Jordan and Love both equal 775 in Latin Gematria. Yesterday, on Sunday, one day after Tylee died, Jordan Love won his 11th regular season game for the Green Bay Packers. And in that same Latin Gematria cipher, the number 11 sums to 775. Latin, also called Agrippa's key, formerly Jewish on my website, is what I believe to be the most significant cipher in Gematria, as this bridges the gap between the ancient Latin and current English alphabets. So dying at the age of 23 years and 11 days, just what are the odds with all of this? Jordan Love, both names summing to 775, getting win number 11775. The driver who won stage 1 of the race in Charlotte, and by the way, this race being in Charlotte, Michael Jordan used to own the NBA team in Charlotte. Tyler Reddick, who won stage 1 of that race, was even born on the 11th day of the year. Notice how Tylee Kraft died 11 months, 11 days after Jordan Love's birthday. Now, with Tyler Reddick being born on the 11th day of the year, it also seems relevant that J.J. Redick, the new Lakers head coach, was drafted 11th overall in the 2006 draft. But not only does the gematria of 11 seem significant, but also 1111, as he died 11 months, 11 days after Love's birthday. 1111 has gematria of both 990 and 1550. Well, when 2311 Racing was officially announced on the date September 21st of 2020, here's the date when the team was first officially announced by Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. Tylee Kraft was exactly 990 weeks old on that date. It was also 155 days after Jordan Love was drafted. Jordan Love with the same 1550 as 1111. This 155 is also found in the gematria of the name Tylee Kraft. 155 reverse. He went to Sumter High School. Fort Sumter equals 155. Also in standard, the word killing sums to 155. Also 115, matching Tylee Kraft, 115, 155. This also brings us to this Brodie Lee story, a wrestler who died in 2020 from a non-COVID lung issue. And the number 54 was huge with the death of that wrestler. He had 54 birth numerology. His last name, Huber, was 54. And he died of a lung condition. Lung equals 54 and 54. He had recently lost the TNT championship. TNT equals 54. Graduated from a high school that was founded in the year 54. But notice how the word love equals 54 and 54. And when John Huber, or Brodie Lee, had his last wrestling match, it was in front of a wrestler named Greg Valentine. And think about how Valentine's Day is when we celebrate love. And now we get another lung issue connected to love. This was also 54 days after Tyler Reddick's last win in NASCAR. And we'll come back to this 43 in a second. But notice how 1111 has reduction gematria of 54 and 54. Again, matching lung, matching love. Remember, the planet of love is Venus, which also sums to 54. Back in the year 2001, Jordan announced his return to the NBA on a date with 54 numerology. Notice how lung cancer equals 98. This was the date leaving 98 days in the year, matching Michael Jeffrey Jordan, like the last year of his tenure in Chicago, the year 98. This weekend, North Carolina lost to Georgia Tech, which equals 98. What's interesting about this all-elite wrestling connection, and again, this event held on October 12th, which is the same day that Tylee Craft died. This event marked the end of the career of pro wrestler Bryan Danielson. And when you measure from the death of Brodie Lee to the death of Tylee Craft, notice how you get exactly 198 weeks. And 198 is the ordinal gematria of 1111. In reverse, 1111 equals 198. Also, with capital letters, lung cancer, summing to this 198. But what really proves the connection between Tylee Craft and John Huber is the gematria of Huber's wrestler in WWE. During his time with World Wrestling Entertainment, the wrestler Brodie Lee, whose real name is Jonathan Huber, he wrestled under the name Luke Harper in WWE, which is, of course, the bigger wrestling organization. And this name that they gave him, Luke Harper, has the same gematria as Tylee Craft. So didn't mean to confuse anybody there, but this is how wrestling works. You know, you get their real names, you get their stage names. Sometimes their stage names change. So Bryan Danielson ends up retiring at this event, AEW Wrestle Dream. He loses the title to his buddy Jon Moxley, and in turn, retires. Well, let me show you something interesting about Bryan Danielson's age on this date, because he was 520 months and 20 days old. And these are the same digits found in his birthday, 522, 522. Furthermore, he was also 43 years, 143 days. And notice how Wrestle Dream, the name of this event, has gematria of 143. But this is also 43 years, 4 months, and 3 weeks. So we get a double 43 with his measurement in his age. And the name Tylee Craft and Tar Heels both equal 43. So does Michael Jeffrey Jordan, 430. Tylee Craft died 4 years and 3 weeks after the founding of 2311 Racing. The word killing sums to 43. And on the day he died, a player named J.J. Jones, who wore his number, scored a touchdown, and the name J.J. Jones is 43 as well. Shout out to Bobby for mentioning that the NBA had a Hall of Fame induction this weekend. I'm sure there's a connection. It's probably a strong one, too. The last thing I want to talk about in this video, though, is the number that Tylee wore, number 13. Now, Michael Jordan's return to the NBA was re-announced a couple of weeks after 9/11, once all the news started to finally die down. And again, that was on September 24th, the date up here that matches lung and lung cancer. Well, that announcement was 13 days after the September 11th attacks. In the alphabetic order, Washington equals 130, the city he was returning to. 130 is also the birth numerology of quarterback Jordan Love. But how about this? If you measure from the date of the Battle of Fort Sumter to the date that Tylee Craft died, who attended Sumter High School, and think about it, right? 9/11, the event that launched the U.S. into the War on Terror. Fort Sumter, the event that launched the U.S. into the Civil War. Well, Tylee Craft died on the first day of the 1963rd month since that battle. 1963 is the year that Michael Jordan was born. And when you write out the number 23 in standard, it equals 1963. So that's pretty much it for the post. A couple more things I'll leave you with before I end this video. Tyler Reddick, who won Stage 1 in Charlotte on the same day as this passing. Let's check his age for October 12th. Notice how he was 10,502 days old. In standard gematria, the word cancer equals 152. If you measure from the birthday of Jordan Love to the birthday of Tylee Craft, we find that they were born exactly 152 weeks apart from one another, syncing up with the word cancer. Also, with prime numbers, the name Craft has this 152. Now, if you run Jordan Love's age for Tylee's death, notice how he just recently turned 311 months old. This provides a connection to Michael Jordan, whose name sums to 311 in standard English gematria. Michael Jordan was born 311 days after the anniversary of the attack on Fort Sumter. Craft was born, he must have been born 3 years. Yeah, and 110 days, that's it. So measuring from Michael Jordan's last NBA championship to the birth of Tylee Craft is 3 years, 110 days, 311. Another connection between their birthdays, Jordan Love to Tylee Craft on the calendar. These two men were born exactly 2 years, 11 months apart from one another. And Jordan Love was born on the 2nd of November, the date written 2/11. In ordinal gematria, ritual human sacrifice has this 211. And it seems important, right? Because we're talking about this 11-11 riddle. Dead 11 months, 11 days after Jordan Love's birthday, and then Jordan wins his 11th game the next day. Now, with all this 11-11 talk, you know what this reminds me of is Ellen. Ellen DeGeneres. Because she actually has a music label called 1111, founded in May 2010. And I don't know if there's any connections to this. I'm going way off script here, but it does make one wonder. 754 weeks, exactly. Or 11 months, or 11 days after the Mensaversary of the founding. These are all nothing burgers so far, but... Oh, look at that. Wow. So if you measure from the date Tylee Craft was born, October 1st of 2001, to May 1st of 2010, you get exactly 103 months. And all you got to do is look back at the thumbnail for this video. Tylee Craft wearing number 13 during his time at North Carolina. So then does this mean there's a connection with her name, Ellen Lee DeGeneres? 152 in the alphabetic order. Pretty sure I just finished talking about the significance of that number. And Ellen DeGeneres is 130. Her record company founded exactly 103 months after Tylee was born. So, of course, it goes way beyond just Michael Jordan and The Last Dance. It goes beyond Jordan Love. It goes beyond J.J. Redick. It even goes all the way to Ellen DeGeneres, whose first name even sort of sounds like the number 11 a little bit, doesn't it? So, all right, everyone, that'll do it for this video. If you'd like to learn more, check the links down in the description below. I'll try and find my video that I made on Brodie Lee from 2020 and link that in the description. If you'd like to support the work and also gain access to new, more powerful decoding tools on gematrinator.com, become a member. Join the website. Again, everything linked down below. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to y'all next time.
See ya.